Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about knowing specific tools and jobs. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, are you scared that you will lose out on jobs if you don't know a specific tool? Uh, no, I would say not necessarily. Sometimes I suppose so, but it kind of depends on the job itself and the nature of the role that the company is looking for. You see, in some cases, there's absolutely a chance that if I don't know a specific tool, I'm not going to be able to do the job. An example would be, let's say, for the sake of argument, that a company is looking for a senior or very specialized Python developer, or they're looking for a DevOps person who knows a lot about Amazon or something like that. In these scenarios, the company is usually looking for a person who has specialist level knowledge in one specific area, because they need someone like that in order to balance the what I like to call the programmer equation. So they have a lot of people who know some stuff, but they realize that they need somebody who is really good at a specific thing in order to get the knowledge of that domain into the company. So for you as a programmer, this is where I think that this is where a lot of people who want to get into IT, they get a little bit scared, because you 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 can get into this headspace where you think that this is the only type of job there's out there. In other words, the only thing that people are looking for are the specialist level programmers who know a specific stack or a specific tool so well that the company wants to hire them. But it's not true all the time. As I said, there are certain situations, but it's usually more down to the nature of the company, and how they do work, because it's not sustainable for a company in general terms to just hire senior developers or specialists or things like that, because there's simply not enough people to go around, and the reason is twofold. One part is because there's not that many developers in comparison to job openings, and the other part is that the ecosystem is like of IT is so diverse that the odds of you finding someone who is a specialist in your specific stack in everything that you have is practically impossible, because there is simply no way for a struggling programmer these days to figure out what should I learn and feel like, yeah, I've covered all my bases. It is one of the bad parts, I would say, about this industry. The entropy, or the diversity, and the options and all the choices in tooling and in programming it's ludicrously high. There's so much, you will never learn all of it, and as you can imagine, if you want to have something resembling a career in this field, it's not sustainable for you to try to learn everything, and it's not sustainable for any company to only look for people that are specialists in their thing, unless, and some do actually do this, unless they have a stack that is the top, like it's the most common stack, the most boring obvious thing there is. An example would be C sharp or Java, for just as an example. If you have, like, if you're using and even in that scenario, there are certainly people and companies who will have other tooling around it that isn't all that relevant, right? But the thing is that for me, I don't really care so much if I know about a specific tool if I know something else, and that something else is something that is very relevant. An example would be if I were to go to a new job and they said, "Hey, Frederick, we need a person who knows, I don't know, Vue or Svelte if we're talking front end or something like that." I wouldn't feel especially nervous about that. I would simply be transparent and say that no, I haven't really worked in these things professionally, but I have worked in, say, React and other, like React and Angular and so forth, for a few years a piece, and I have all these other skills. And any sane company will look at that as valuable experience. As I said, the only exception is if they're really, really looking for someone who is specifically good at that thing, because they have a lot of other people who, well, either have been complaining or there have been some issues related to not having enough knowledge around the tools that they are using. I have seen this happen before where in front end, this is actually, it happens very often, where you have a team of backend developers who simply don't know enough about front end, and they say we need a front end developer who really can go in and like fix all of this stuff, and so they hire someone who can do that, and that does happen. But in general terms, people are just looking for someone who will have, in a very short amount of time, the ability to become productive in the tool that they are using. And for a software developer, it's simply not sustainable. You can't. You cannot have the idea that you're going to be a specialist in every single tool. And at the same time, you can't really afford the luxury all the time. Sometimes you can. To go really deep on a specific stack and then call it a day, and like that's your entire career, because it very much depends on the nature of your region, like how people are doing work. If you have a lot of jobs related to one specific stack, then it's very safe for you to do that. But on the other hand, if you never learn anything else, you're going to be very limited in your options in terms of work, and that's not that's not great either, because sometimes you figure out that, hey, I actually want to do something different, but you don't actually know, you don't have enough width in your knowledge to be able to transition from one thing to the other, or it's not going to be a good it's not going to be a good transition. So what I want you to take away from this is basically that I'm not so worried if I don't know a specific tool, and the main reason is very simple, because I know that as long as I have proof that I have enough skills in relevant tools or things that are very similar to the thing that the company is looking for, then I feel completely safe, because I know that even though it's not exactly the experience that they are looking for, it's close enough that they will consider me as a candidate. The only time that this is usually now, this isn't true, is if they're very adamant and specific about the knowledge that they need, and they usually look for that sort of knowledge when they might have a bunch of other developers who sort of know what they're doing with the stack that they have, but for some reason they really need someone who's extra good at that thing so that they can spread some knowledge and actually raise the quality of experience within that specific tool in their company. An example would be front-end and back-end developers. It's very common to see that you have a back-end heavy team that hires a front-end developer to balance out the equation. And this happens all the time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Have a great day.